On Saturday, June 5th, 1976, around 7:30 a.m., a small leak was discovered at the base of the Teton Dam by structural engineers, just east of Rexburg, Idaho. This life-altering fact, historical fact, was the beginning of one of Idaho's most infamous natural disasters. After attempting some emergency measures, the Teton Dam completely collapsed around 11:55 a.m. By 8 p.m., the reservoir had completely emptied out onto the Snake River Plain. 80% of all structures in the Rexburg area were destroyed, including homes, businesses, and farms. Tens of thousands of acres of land near the river was stripped of its fertile topsoil used for farming. Thousands of families were, as a result, without food and water for weeks. I was a resident of a small town of Ingham, Idaho for most of my childhood. There I lived near a mountain called Mount Bonneville. During the many years I lived there, me and my family were snowed in countless times. Often there were winters where we had 6 to 10 foot drifts blocking the roadway. It took the county several weeks to open up the road so that we could get back into town. We had to survive on emergency supplies until the road was reopened. And part of these emergency supplies included a 72-hour kit. Every day, people all over the world are faced with emergencies. I would like to submit that most people do not or would not know what to take or to bring in the event of an emergency for survival. Please consider this reality. Emergencies are never planned, or are they ever scheduled. And with this given fact of reality, how will you know what items to bring? Often there is very little warning in the sudden event of an emergency. So today I am going to help you realize the importance of a 72-hour kit. First, I will explain the problems of not being prepared in the sudden case of a natural disaster. Next, I'll provide you with the information you need to develop your own solution to these problems. Finally, I would like to help you understand why my solution is the best plan of action. Let me explain, first of all, why you should seriously consider having a 72-hour kit. I can't stress enough how much everyone needs to be prepared with a 72-hour kit for basic survival needs. Every day in the news, there are reports of natural disasters happening in a moment's notice. Remember, there is never a scheduled time for an emergency to take place, especially with a natural disaster like a tornado or an earthquake. Even with current advances in technology, during an emergency, response may be delayed. Sometimes conditions do not warrant the access to an area for many days. And a 72-hour kit can give each person the supplies they need for 3 days. Don't fall into the trap of false thinking that most people think that they can grab enough food or supplies from their cupboards or shelves in an emergency. Let me give you an example of why this reason of thought is so false in thinking. On Friday, March 11th, 2011, at around 2:45 Japan Standard Time in Tohoku, Japan, a magnitude 9 earthquake and following tsunami came without warning. According to livescience.com, more than 120,000 buildings were completely destroyed. And the number of confirmed deaths is currently 15,894 people. And more than 2,500 people are still reported missing. As you can see, most victims never even had a chance to evacuate, let alone grab supplies in an emergency. Going back to the Teton Dam, we remember that the victims had very little warning before the dam had collapsed. And in 2018, there were 1,250 tornadoes in the US alone, according to ThorntonWeather.com. And still hundreds more tornadoes happen around the world every day. Recently, a level 5.7 earthquake occurred in Salt Lake City, Utah. Many structures suffered slight damage, including the Salt Lake City temple where the angel Moroni lost his trumpet. According to the United States Geological Survey, or USGS, several million earthquakes happen around the world each year. And in fact, the studies also show that every 2 days, an earthquake has a large enough magnitude to be reported. I want to make this stark reality to everyone in this class that you will, at some point in your life, face an emergency situation. A time will come when you will need to be prepared in a timely manner. Remember, natural disasters do not wait for you to be ready. You will need prepared for the worst case scenario for all of your family members. You will need, each person will need to have their own supplies built into a 72-hour portable kit. This is vitally important. You could be separated in the event of an emergency. You now know the problems and risk of not being prepared. Now let's discuss the solution that you and your family, so that you and your family can be prepared. Surveys tell us that many people feel they can simply grab enough of what they need from their own stocks and stores. It is true that some supplies can be obtained quickly in the event of a emergency. However, there are some problems with this rationale. One, there is no set time to how long the emergency is going to last. How do you know how much you need? Remember, each person needs enough supplies to last for 72 hours or 3 days. Two, it is hard and time consuming to figure out how much each person needs and how much time you need for that person and each kit or each supply. And three, what happens if not all supplies you need is found or you don't even have it? The solution to this problem is making a readily accessible 72-hour kit for each person in your family. A prepackaged and commercial 72-hour kit can be purchased at many types of preparedness stores or online. However, building your own kit is not rocket science and can be relatively simple and cost-effective. 72-hour kit guides can be easily found online. Try to construct your 72-hour kit so that it is readily available and easy to carry, such as this backpack I have here with all my supplies. It should be able to be easily accessed and carried. In fact, this method of survival is so effective that some volunteer groups are lobbying that a 72-hour kit should be made available by the government in case of a disaster. Everything you need to survive is included in one easy-to-carry kit, such as food, water, first aid supply, and some kits even contain a way to cook the food if needed. Again, ensure every person has their own supplies. The possibility of being separated can happen in an emergency. 72-hour kits can be made relatively easily also from items in your own home, from items you already have in your own home. I want to ask you this serious question. Imagine the possibility of a disaster in your area. Do you know what threats are in your area? I would like to encourage you to research this information and stay informed. A good source of information for your area for potential disasters locally and around the world can be found online. May I suggest to go to the Emergency Disaster and Information Service. This website will tell you a bunch of information of what you may need to know. And the results of your area may surprise you. Taking all this into consideration, if a 72-hour kit is not available, the chances of your survival could be a matter of life and death. Creating a 72-hour kit can be done in one evening set aside with your family, such as family home evening on Monday. This is a perfect time to discuss and create your 72-hour kit. Before you start, get a list of supplies that you will need and all the supplies that you will need. To get a checklist, you can get it from various websites, but I have found a great resource in the Church Self-Reliance website. When you go there, look for how to make a to-go bag. By following the steps listed on this website, you can make a very inexpensive, high-quality kit that contains all the proper essentials that you're going to need. Try to build each kit according to each family member's size and age. And finally, and most importantly, don't forget to teach your family members how to use each item in your kit. This is often overlooked and can become disastrous if they don't know what to do. Please consider the solution I have presented for building a 72-hour kit for you and your family members. You will be faced with an emergency sometime in your life. Be prepared, as the Scout motto says, be prepared. Life is precious, so don't risk losing life because you chose not to be prepared. Thank you.